From what we can guess, I would probably say yes. However, there are not always the same size. For example, some of them are half the original size, some of them are the original size.
We fought hard 20 years ago and say to you, fight on.
All right.
The voice of conservation today on the Capitol steps. People bound and determined to keep Voyageurs National Park and the BWCA as is.
97% of Minnesota's lakes and lands are already available for motorized recreation. Could it be that the moto rec crowd is a little greedy?
Voyageurs was established as a national park in the 70s. With water, it's 218,000 acres of pristine wilderness. Powerboats and snowmobiles are already allowed, but sports enthusiasts, largely from northern Minnesota, want more access and motorized portages. They said as much en masse at a congressional field hearing in International Falls in August. Today was the other side's turn. Greg Lace leads wilderness expeditions in the Boundary Waters.
And these guys have an agenda of really rolling back the environmental movement by 30, 40 years.
Most at the rally see the Voyageurs battle as a testing ground and believe the Republican-controlled Congress has eyes on the 100 million acres of federally managed wilderness.
This is just a beginning of a much larger agenda. So it's important that we say no now.
I really fear for that because I think as humans we need an opportunity to have a place to go. Even if you never go, you know it's there.
We have spent so long in trying to preserve it, we cannot lose it just for this, as I say, red herring of an issue around accessibility, because I want that option.
Today's speakers were preaching to the choir. Their real challenge is ahead, convincing Congress to see things their way. Dave Wildermuth, Channel 6 News at the Capitol.
As an overview, I have been punched, kicked, I've been urinated on, I've been spit on, I've had things thrown at me, I've been called every name that I could even imagine, and some that I don't even want to imagine, and faggot, queer.
Before they wrote that article?
No, we hadn't heard from them at all, and then
what the judgment says, or they're not liable.
That just makes me think that what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to go to school 8 hours a day with our children to make sure they're safe from harassment and from getting beat up? I think
or they will have to wade through the pack of lies and inconsistencies that make up this case. Thomason got on the stand and said it was John Dioria who did the killing last February at Duluth's antenna farm. John Dioria claims it was Mark Thomason. The jury is going to have to decide who exactly it was. Both Thomason and Dioria testified in this case. Attorneys pointing out inconsistencies and lies by both, but somewhere within, the jury must come up with a verdict.
A few years ago, and it's an attraction for children to try to go in and investigate and see, you know, what could be in there. And you can see the condition is bad now from just a windstorm blowing the bricks down.
Enclosed in orange safety fencing, the old Kettle River School has fallen on hard times. First fire gutted the building in 1991. Last month, high winds tore off the roof. Through it all, the question of ownership has been tied up in the courts. But now, because of potential hazards, the city has received permission to tear down the school. There's only one problem. There's no money to do it.
Okay, the estimate by a demolition company was estimated at $50,000, which, you know, was a rough estimate, but that's the figure they gave us to work with. Our general fund operating budget is around $74,000.
For nearly 2 years, the city has been scrambling to find money to bring the building down before natural forces do it for them.
We have not had any successful grant applications. We've tried the IRRB. We're currently working on a small cities grant. We also right now are working with the National Guard, and hopefully we haven't gotten a reply from them yet.
The hope is the National Guard demolition team will take the school on as a training exercise. Until a solution is found, children will have to steer clear of a building which at one time was the heart of Kettle River.
We have a lot of elementary children in the neighborhood, and the parents have been really good about keeping them away from it.
We're estimating that the Miller Hill Mall expansion would generate approximately 8,000 additional trips, daily trips, and the Opus, I believe it was right around 16,000 additional trips per day. We're recommending that we Mall Drive intersection. This is the backside of the mall, with JCPenney's being up here. A couple problems that exist. Currently it's a four-way stop.
It was extreme heat, and the fire was breaking out in other portions of the building. And at that point we withdrew. Probably within an hour or so later, we were able to determine, okay, that the one victim was in that area, which was fairly near the front of the building. And we did not locate the other victim until the salvage and overhaul at approximately 4 or 5 this morning.
As the first measurable snowfall of the season hit this morning, some familiar sights and sounds were once again repeated. From that first time you brush off your car without a snow brush to watching trees bending in brisk wind. Like it or not, this is our fare for the rest of the year. Some people had to work in today's rough weather, but others got the chance to enjoy the snow. A day off in the white stuff. But for others, the day wasn't nearly as much fun. Numerous accidents were reported across town as motorists used to summer driving find out the hard way that winter's here, as happens every year.
Normally, the first couple of snows we have every year, we have more than what is normal for accidents during that kind of weather, and then people learn to slow down again.
Despite the fact that it seems to happen every year, Ely says people have to be continually re-educated about the #1 rule of winter driving: slow down.
We've had several accidents this morning, and every one of them can be contributed to the weather and people driving too fast for the conditions.
Duluth police have some other winter driving tips for you as well. Have your headlights on in periods of inclement weather so other drivers can see you. And they also caution drivers of four-wheel drive vehicles like our news truck here. No matter how many drive wheels you have, those wheels don't help you stop. Oh, and one other thing about those headlights, having them on when it's snowing is no longer optional.
That's the law now in the state of Minnesota. One of the hints would be is if you have your wipers on, you should have your headlights on also.
In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
This week, in the form of a mailed flyer, Zenith Kramer is telling its customers that garbage haulers should be allowed to dispose of their trash wherever they want, so long as the site meets environmental standards.
By state law, all garbage haulers in the Duluth area are required to bring their trash here, the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District. Cost haulers about $63 per ton. But now Zenith Kramer has found a cheaper source, a landfill in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, for about $30 per ton. The lawsuit is asking for the right to bring their trash there.
But Sanitary District Director Kurt Soderberg says it's much more complicated than finding the cheapest place to dump trash. He says the district, set up by the state in the 1970s to serve the Duluth area, survives based on the fees paid by garbage haulers. He says allowing haulers to go elsewhere would be devastating.
And it has not been our interest, nor has it been our obligation from the legislature to just look at the cheapest hole in the ground.
Meanwhile, Zenith Kramer's mailer this week is intended to tell their story. The mailer assures customers that garbage services will continue uninterrupted, that the reason for the lawsuit is because the WLSSD has illegally required waste to be disposed of at its facility, that Zenith Kramer wants the freedom to transport its garbage where it wants, and that doing that will save money. In addition to dumping freedom, the lawsuit asks for about $15 million in damages.
That if by some chance they were to recover the sort of damages, the $15 million in damages they're looking for, everybody would be hurt by that.
Soderberg says the loss could be passed on to the consumer, possibly on your property tax statement. The Sanitary District, in a response to Zenith Kramer, has a mailer of its own going out this week. It calls Zenith Kramer's lawsuit a low blow delivered at a time when our operations have been crippled by a devastating fire. For now, it appears the outcome of this fight will be decided in the courts. In Duluth, Bill Lund, Channel 6 News.
This is a project that should complete
in September of 1996, Northwest was scheduling their first Airbuses to be overhauled at that time. And everyone's working hard for that schedule. They should complete it. We're on time. And the total cost of the project for the Northwest facility
It started in Duluth's Memorial Park. Challenger Herb Bergson replied to allegations made by Superior city officials regarding his financial management while mayor of Superior.
This gang of mudslingers led by existing finance director Tim Nelson, who was disciplined by me for misconduct on several occasions, is totally lacking in class and lacking in truth.
Bergson brought along his own support from the other side of the bridge, former Superior City Council President Dan O'Neill, who said Nelson and former Superior Mayor Bruce Hagan should stay out of Duluth politics.
I just don't feel that they should be involved in this. And like I said, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them starting this and trying to put Herb down, because it isn't right.
Bergson charged Mayor Gary Doty with instigating the attacks. This afternoon, Doty told Channel 6 News that isn't so.
It was held. It was a group of people in Superior who chose to want to display the record that Mr. Bergson had over there, and it's a record we were well aware of. And I'm not opposed to the fact that they did it, but it was not my press conference. I didn't arrange it.
Doty also says the process should be open to residents of Superior.
Like this, I think that it's appropriate they are involved. You know, they're right across the bridge. You got a mayor who was a mayor of that town, and I'm the mayor of this city, and I think it's legitimate to compare records, and that's what we've done.
Those records will be compared shortly at the ballot box. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News. The Minnesota State Board of Education plans to change the existing state law on desegregation in the public schools. Currently, a single school can't have more than 15% more minority population than their representation in the district as a whole. Grant School, as a result of that formula, has too many minority students, according to the state. But even though state law may be about to change, officials say that doesn't mean the Duluth School District can slide through the problem.
So we're continuing to talk about the development of the revised rule. But until that rule is revised, school districts will either have to comply or have to ask for a rule waiver from the state board.
Kling said that for now, the board will ask the district to have a plan in place to deal with the problem, but that plans can vary from district to district.
After that, the students who will graduate, and incrementally, things will happen and be added to the basic requirements in the profile of learning.
Many of these Piedmont Heights residents have been meeting with planning officials and city council members for weeks, trying to reach a compromise. Yesterday, residents surveyed the site with mall officials. They say the mall expansion would ruin their neighborhood.
And we found this area because it was perfect.
It's on a dead-end street. We're close to everything, but we still have bears in the backyard and deer here, and, you know, it feels like we're in the country.
It'll cause a lot of noise, a lot of traffic. We like the neighborhood as is, and of course the value of our home will go down, and we just want it to stay the way it is.
Neighbors told me earlier today they have environmental and traffic concerns as well as safety concerns. They will pack the city council chambers tonight, ready to speak out one last time.
When November comes and the lights glow from deer camps across America, you'll find Cecilia Hansen in northern Minnesota because when deer season opens, there's no place else she'd rather be. To Cecilia, dressing in fashion means a blaze orange outfit and a deer rifle.
I was going to get my gun out.
Then it's out the door
I don't have the keys to
and down a trail she's walked for more than 40 deer seasons.
We come up on Thursday, and then the season opens Saturday. And we usually stay about 2 weeks, I think, and then we go home, and sometimes we get to come back, and sometimes we don't.
2 weeks in deer camp and wanting more? There probably aren't many great-grandmothers with such a passion, especially an 84-year-old widow who for sure climbs into her hunting stand because she wants to. And she's in no hurry there to shoot a deer.
Because then we have to go home, you know, and we don't want to go home. I'm more excited about the boys getting there than me getting mine, you know. Grandchildren.
The boys are son-in-law Steve Nichols and grandson Steve, 37, and Larry Small, 40.
I've hunted with her since I was 12, first year deer hunting. And actually, she's my hunting partner. I do all my hunting with her.
I felt like I was born with it, like, or if you're not to go out in the woods, if you don't enjoy it, you have to enjoy it to do it, is the way that I feel like.
So she waits, looking and listening, and having the time of her life. I'm Ron Shera for NBC News.
State Patrol Marge speaking.
When there's a problem on Minnesota state highways, the State Patrol is on call. But you might be surprised how few troopers are actually out on the road.
Approximately 600 miles of highway to patrol, and as few as 4 or 5 troopers on a given day to patrol those number of highways. It's virtually impossible to be where we need to be all the time.
There are only 535 troopers in the entire state. More than half work in the Twin Cities. When you split the remaining staff into 2 shifts, take out troopers who are in court, in training, doing paperwork, or on special assignment, and many districts can't be staffed 24 hours a day.
Many things that will take us off the road and keep us in the office or where we're not visible to the public. And, well, then we're not effective as far as the motoring public's concerned. They don't see us out there.
That's because there's more for each trooper to do. The number of miles of highway to watch over is up 31% in the past 25 years. Traffic accidents are up 29%, and the number of licensed drivers is up as well. But the number of troopers hasn't changed in 25 years.
I compare it to a rubber band. You know, you keep stretching it and you stretch it and say, can you do a little bit more and do a little bit more? Eventually the rubber band breaks.
Here in the Northland, there aren't many options. Troopers know they're going to be busy every minute of every day they're on duty, and it doesn't appear that the legislature will spend any more money anytime soon.
It's frustrating. I look at the fact that we have fewer troopers in this district now than we did 25 years ago.
In Duluth, Derek Hines, Channel 6 News.
I got a new hairdo anyway.
we offer free parking to all our customers in all the downtown ramps, you know, and anyway, so but it sure hasn't hurt.
Parents, if you've ever wondered how well your teenagers drive the family car, this may take away the guesswork. It's called Drive Right, a battery-operated computer about the size of an eyeglass case. Drive Right records times and speeds and saves the information for up to 10 days.
You set the parameters that you would like to make the unit react to, and it will make note of the times when those are exceeded.
Here's how it works. You attach one end of a cable to your drive shaft. The computer is plugged into the other, then placed, say, on the dashboard. Immediately, the computer keeps track of how fast you accelerate, your top speed, and how long you maintain that speed. It also remembers how hard you had to hit the brakes and how long you drove the car. So, if you suspect someone of hot rodding around town in your car,
this will definitely help curb that kind of irresponsibility.
There is also a Drive Right for business owners who can monitor trucks to see if deliveries are being made promptly. Rick Chambers for NBC News.
There's a decision that we've been looking at now for a number of weeks, and that is trying to look at ways that the tipping fee that we charge can be compared relative to tipping charges in other areas of
You know, I do, and I'm going to do more for my family than the government ever could do. 78, and I think I did in 1984.
The Metro? There, I don't know how strong it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks pretty good. So that, once the troops are there, I'm behind them. I remove any objections I have. Once our people are in harm's way, I think that we have to support them. If we don't, then we're going to cause them trouble in dealing with the problems over there, and we're going to make the problems worse.
That certainly happened in the past for the United States.
Isn't it? Yeah. And who took the brunt of it? Some poor son of a bitch slogging around in the mud over there. And you know, Wellstone was part of that.
They just weighed and considered and determined that we weren't that far apart in money. We'll be back in negotiations next year, and that's more important to keep the operation going and address the major concerns next year.
constituents out there next year, but I'll be watching you all very, very closely. So, and hope that we want to work with our state legislatures to change the law. And I'd really move when this council has its meeting with our area legislators.
I really think it's counterproductive, and by being a very good citizen and doing what's best for the city, you get penalized, and that's the way I do look at property tax.
Figure what to do. I have a girlfriend, but I also like this other girl. My girlfriend wants to get married. We've been together for a long time, but I'm at the point where I don't trust her anymore. But I don't want to leave her. I just want a good relationship. What should I do? Sincerely confused.
Ooh, no one ever called the life of a teenager simple. That's why Sarah Burkhalter and Amanda Cartwright are helping teens sort out their confusion with a little advice.
Maybe we should just tell him that he needs to be honest with his girlfriend.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be honest.
And, you know, you can still date somebody and date other people, too.
Yeah.
It started out with these high school students giving advice to their friends, but soon their audience grew, and they landed on page 1, section B of the Lubbock Avalanche Journal.
Let's kids see that there are kids out there with similar problems such as theirs, and that just some good common sense advice from their own peers.
Because she just needs to deal with, you know, whether she likes being single or not, and if she does, then she needs to get on with it.
Not that they don't have problems of their own, but by giving advice, they found insight into their own lives.
That has helped me know that, you know, well, if I can solve other people's problems, then I can solve my own.
And problem solving is what it's all about.
It feels good trying to help people. Maybe we're not, but it feels good trying. Yeah.
Renee Cohn for NBC News.
Duluth Police Department and officers from the St. Louis County Sheriff's Office are engaged in an attempt to arrest a 50-year-old white male in the Central Hillside who has barricaded himself in a house. At this time, we are not going to give you much more information than that. There have been no injuries at this time, and we're simply waiting for our negotiating team to do their job.
So the negotiation is...
We
We truly believe that the majority of people oppose the rezoning that took place, and we do feel that the City Council will respond to that.
Our objective, try and get everything cleared within 24 hours after the snow stops, and we should be able to make that. We'll have some pushing back to do tomorrow, and a lot of that's because of parked cars and heavy snow, but we should be able to make our objective.
I think the gas line got frozen. Yeah. Is it on 4th here too? No, it's down at the garage. Somebody pushed me all the way from Alaska to this. Oh my God. Yes. Not too tough. Well, we had a really slow vacation.
Late last Saturday night, a 29-year-old Duluth police officer was struck by fragments of a .22 caliber bullet while outside this spur station. Today, Duluth police talked about the incident and a case.
The victim drove into the gas station, parked right in front of the station, stepped out of his truck, and went in and made a small purchase. Came back out, got in the truck, and as he was leaning over to buckle his seatbelt, he was struck in the head.
Less than an hour after the shooting here at the Spur, Duluth police responded to a second firearms incident less than a block away. 2 men were taken into custody, and Duluth police say one of them had run from a Minneapolis halfway house after being convicted in a 1994 shooting in Minneapolis. Police aren't sure if the 2 incidents are connected, but they're considering the possibility.
Because of the proximity and time and place and the mention of the gun, of course, we're forced to consider the possibility that they are involved in the shooting.
Without additional evidence, police say they'll release a 19-year-old who was taken into custody this weekend. Authorities say they're holding another man for running from that halfway house.
He was sent to a halfway house on October 24th of 1995 and left the same day. He is in custody on a warrant issued by the Department of Corrections for violating the terms and conditions of his release.
Police say there's no evidence to state the officer was targeted by the shooter, and the investigation continues. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
News. Yeah, because the cops are harassing his house. That's what the problem is. The Duluth police are harassing everybody in his house.
Oh, this is from the probation department.
Yeah, but ain't that a coincidence?
Do you have a jacket? Or you give us?
Come on.
Them coming here last night, coming into our house like they did.
The joy showed in the giving and in the receiving. Thousands of toys from babies through teens were displayed on long tables at the Duluth Salvation Army headquarters. Parents, with their kids' wish list clutched in their hands, walked through looking for the gift they never thought they'd be able to give to their child.
That one right there? Yeah. Just that little piece right there.
But when you see a mother come by and just saying, "You've made my Christmas," because without the Salvation Army or without these toys, there would have been no Christmas for my child.
The need was great, but despite the hard times many of these parents are going through, their spirits were bright today as they looked for the perfect gift to put under their tree.
Well, I think it's great because in my situation, I was in a car accident, so I've been out of work. So the teachers, my son's teacher signed us up for this. And I think it's great because it does help when you need it.
The Salvation Army hopes to help brighten Christmas for more than 6,000 Northland children this holiday season. Scenes like this will be played out in communities throughout the Northland this week. Toys donated through Operation Rudolph will be given within the communities in which they're collected.
Okay, here we have another family right here. Hi. It warms my heart. It really does. It really, because you know, a lot of people took out time. Companies came together, different households. The food drive. I mean, the whole thing. It really makes me feel good.
In Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
Thank you. Good morning. Merry Christmas.
I had one woman that didn't believe in Santa Claus, and she got on my bus and it changed her attitude. She says, "Mrs. Claus?" I says, "Yes." She says, "Well, I didn't believe till now, but maybe I'll start believing again."
Is this your idea to do this, or?
Well, the company had an idea years ago of Santa Claus dressing up on the bus.
Well, I wasn't even expecting anything like this to happen, especially around this time of year. Especially during Christmas.
Missy Randa and Selena McGraw were headed toward their bus stop, excited that it was their last day before Christmas vacation. But when they came through the alley, something caught Selena's eye.
I was walking through the alley, and then I was like right around there, and I just heard some screaming up there. And so I looked up, and there was a baby up there, but I mean, I thought they'd come back over or something.
But no one did come out for the naked 11-month-old baby boy clinging to the railing of this porch in West Duluth. Because of what the girls did next, police say they are heroes.
I picked him up, and before I picked him up, he was crying, and then I gave him to Selena, because I was scared I was going to drop him. And then, I grabbed him, and we were just like hurrying, walking back to her house, and we gave him to her mom. And she wrapped him up in blankets, and then we were waiting for the police to come.
Police say the mother of the infant has a history of mental and emotional problems. She was inside the apartment when the baby was found. She is now undergoing psychological evaluation. Nobody knows how long the baby was outside in the cold. He is now safe in foster care. Police are continuing to investigate the incident and aren't sure if there will be any charges against the mother. But the two best friends are just happy the baby is safe.
Well, it makes me feel that during Christmas, he will now be warm. He must not have had much love there, so he'll get love from someone else. I know that during Christmas.
In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
After New Year's is over, that tree shouldn't be in the house anymore. It should be gone because it's probably been in your house for a week or more already, and once it's been there for over a week, it's really going to be drying out.
away from us. For heaven's sakes, plan it. Don't drive if you've had some alcohol in your system. Don't let your friends drive if they've had alcohol in their system. And plan right now to get through that party and through New Year's Day and look forward to a very happy 1996. Be looking to a better life in the months and the years that lie ahead. And I'm saying that when we took him to the Harlem police precinct, and they were taking him out of his car, he said, was any damage done to my girlfriend's car? He was driving his girlfriend's car. He had no concerns for the person that he had splattered all over.
I guess what happens is there's a real concern with the dollar amount. At 28, I have to apologize.
At the same time, he's trying to recover those costs. He needs to prorate those costs.
The hauler's prorating that back to the district. Now, we had discussed it at the previous meeting.
Milton Williams hadn't even heard about the armed robbery of the Safari Pet Store Monday when he and a friend were nabbed.
I was at the mall doing a little shopping. I was coming out of Wilson's leather store. Policeman came, pulled his gun on me and my friend and told us to get on the ground, searched us and handcuffed us. We kept asking why, and he wouldn't tell us why.
As police discussed their next steps, shoppers passed by looking at the young men in handcuffs.
I think they were thinking, oh, just not these black guys up here doing the same thing, getting in trouble, causing problems up here.
Williams says he felt particularly humiliated because he works at the mall and was frisked and handcuffed in front of some co-workers and potential customers.
Every time I look around, people's looking at me like I'm a criminal.
Williams says he and his friend, who were later released, were arrested solely because they're young black men. Police say they were just doing their job.
If a white person had robbed the Safari Pet Store and a white person had been observed at the mall matching that description, it would have been handled the same.
But the president of the Duluth chapter of the NAACP disagrees.
Which the African American community feel is a form of harassment, and particularly African American males feel there's a form of harassment that they get from the police when other African Americans are involved in a crime.
Williams feels part of the problem might be alleviated if there were more African American officers on the force. He says they might be more inclined to ask more specific questions in taking descriptions of black suspects. But police say they've trained their officers to be sensitive to that situation.
When we have suspects, whether it be white or whether it be black, I believe we treat them the same.
Williams says he had nothing to do with the armed robbery, and police confirm he and his friend are not suspects. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
contributing factors are many, but the biggest contributing factor to the majority of accidents is illegal or unsafe speed. It's cited in 25% of all the single vehicle accidents.
And you end up dealing with those, and you know, there are a lot of people who
He has been.
I don't see how he can be when you expel Senator Bertram. When he resigned right before, everyone was at his constituent services, so I do believe he'll be hard to run against. But at the same time, I think he is out of step with where the public is at on the economic issues particularly.
How about Rudy Boschwitz? He was a formidable challenger at the time when he was at the peak of his political career. He's hasn't been around for a little while, but he says he's ready to come back, and he says he's at his
Missy, Randa, and Selena McCraw were on a routine walk to school last month when they heard the cries of a little baby. Selena and Missy followed the cries up to a second-floor balcony of this building and found a baby boy alone and naked. They decided to take quick action by going to Missy's house and calling 911.
We're glad we were there when we were there, and we're glad we saved him.
Now, the St. Louis County Board is calling the girls heroes and honoring them the 911 Lifesaver Award.
This is the third 911 Lifesaver Award that we've given, and we are going to be doing this on an annual basis. We're real pleased to have presented the award to the team, especially to Ms. McCraw and Ms. Randa for their heroic efforts in terms of saving the life of this young little boy.
The two young heroines say they're very pleased about the honor.
It's kind of nice.
St. Louis County Commissioners say the girls' heroic actions have taught our entire community a lesson on caring.
Our St. Louis County social service employees, and as you can see, the police and ambulance service, dispatching, and two young girls. It made a great team, and I think that that's what a community is all about, when people get together and care. And this is a real opportunity to recognize that caring.
Missy and Selena are the youngest recipients of the award. The 911 dispatcher on duty and the emergency response workers were also recognized. In Duluth, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
It's just a gem to be here and to be a part of this community. It comes from this. Programs, but also it's a long-term investment in the strength of our business community. The theme for this year's Depot United campaign is Make the Magic. And this theme is so appropriate to these organizations because they bring so much magic to our community, not only in their entertainment and educational value, but also the terrific impact they have on our business community. As do Promenade and Arabesque. We like to refer to ourselves as cranes sometimes because we lift quite a bit. If you come to the ballet dance now, of course, but the ballet dancer is the technical expert of all dance forms. So it's part of what brought me to Duluth to share the talents that I have with this community, was that the depot was in existence.
It's just hard for shoveling. Other than that, yeah, I like it. I wouldn't go south in the winter for anything, or out to Arizona. This is my country.
77-year-old Vivian Brennan of Superior is digging out from up to 18 inches of newly fallen snow. Northlanders brave the elements, including dangerous wind chills and extremely high winds, just trying to stay ahead of this first major winter storm of 1996.
And what did you find when you came out to your car here?
Quite a surprise. That's about all you can say, I guess. We stayed overnight. We were from Thunder Bay. Just came in for some shopping, and this is what we got.
With over a foot of snow, this was not an uncommon sight as determined Northlanders ventured out of their houses today. But the big snow meant big business to some.
We'll be probably working for up till about midnight tonight, with all of our trucks we got right now. Then well, we take call for a while and then go back out and after a couple hours of rest and go again.
Get a little snow blowing, a little snow removal on roofs. It's kind of good all around.
So as we continue to dig out cars and snowblow driveways, remember, a positive attitude can keep you ahead of the storm.
You have to live up in this part of the country. But God, just look, we don't have bugs. We don't have any of those horrible things that those other people have. And that's a lot to be thankful for.
Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
Light doesn't burn out because I'll never get to it to get a new bulb. Okay.
The 13th annual John Bear Grease Sled Dog Marathon takes off Sunday, and key race participants, dogs and mushers, are gearing up, making last-minute preparations. Today, mushers lined up the dogs for the mandatory vet check.
They check their heart and lungs and their joints and their feet and total condition. They're just very thorough in their evaluation.
After the dogs pass the checkup, a veterinarian then carefully inserts a mini computer chip underneath the skin of each and every dog.
Part of the reason for that is if a dog gets loose or something like that, the dog is easily identified. But another reason is that it prevents anyone from switching dogs. You're allowed to start with just the 16 dogs, and you can't add any new dogs.
Those dogs and the mushers need to be in top condition because they'll have sub-zero temperatures and newly fallen snow to contend with along the trail.
So we will see a lot of snow, and it's going to be easier in that way because the trail will be softer and it'll be very fast, I feel. We are looking for some snow and some cold weather, and the dogs really like that too. They do not run as well when it's above zero. They would prefer below zero temperatures.
Mushers say Mother Nature's on their side this year, and they're looking forward to hitting the trail.
I'm very excited. I think it should be a great race.
In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
Unforeseen circumstances such as with the health of the newborn, with conditions of jaundice and digestive problems that can develop beyond that 24-hour period, that we felt it was best to offer, at least to the mother, the opportunity to stay beyond that 24-hour period.
The Lakota Ray Shopping Center is now a site of burned rubble that used to be a part of an economic development. The LCO Center caught fire last Thursday, leaving many people in this community without a place to shop for groceries, send off mail, rent videos, and visit with neighbors. Tribal officials say it's a devastating loss for the community, and the center needs to rebuild.
There's different talk about what's going to happen. There might be a small convenience store built. We might do something with the present gas station we got right now. There's different options that we're working on at what we want to do.
This is what's left of the LCO Shopping Center. Many people say this place was a focal point for the community. This is where they did their shopping, and where over 85% of the people that were employed here are tribal members. The LCO Planning Committee is helping decide what to do now. Tribal officials tell us members are very eager to know when and where they will start rebuilding.
Well, we get a lot of calls here. What are you going to do? Are you going to build it here? Are you going to build it there? Or geez, we want it here. There's a lot of things going on within the community. And right now I can't answer all them questions because we haven't dug deep enough into it yet.
In the meantime, Lakota Ray residents have to travel 10 miles to Hayward to do their day-to-day business. Tribal officials will meet tomorrow with the insurance company to discuss options.
On the Lakota Ray Reservation, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
Right now with a budget that was planned for an average snow year. Well, 2 weeks ago we were at average. So we have to look at how we're going to either get additional monies or what we're going to have to curtail.
Of a second, but that hundredth of a second will make the difference in where you put.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I skate all the time. Well, it's fun just to skate and just try to participate and how to just watch everyone skate and just learn.
Well, I was sort of scared, but I felt that if I just stay calm, I can do it.
We all enjoy the privilege of being here tonight and speaking freely and saying what we so wish is because someone stood to watch on a ship like this and other ships like them.
Little boys will see it and they'll play games. And they'll see the glamour of war without seeing the cost of war.
Hello, I'm Mickey Prangley, and I'm here with Diane Parkerson from the Friends of Animals at Cloquet, and we have two beautiful pups. This is a very touching story this week. Tell the audience about Lily and Bella.
Well, Lily and Bella and their sister were found abandoned at a little store in Cloquet by one of our members. 10-week-old puppies just thrown out in the cold. I think it was a day or two before we got such extreme cold weather, which is good because they wouldn't have lasted probably an hour out there.
Right, exactly. So they were very lucky they were found, and a good thing they were found. And in the next couple of weeks we have all these dog races and the dog sled races going on, and most people don't realize those dogs are actually bred for the cold temperatures, and even then those dogs need booties and protective gear to keep them warm. So just imagine the average dog like these two, it would not take long for them to freeze. This time of year you have to be very careful, not only with yourself but with your pets. They become even a bigger responsibility this time of year.
We see a lot of frostbite in animals. Sometimes infection sets in, sometimes amputation is necessary, sometimes the body part does just fall out or fall off.
Good point. So in these next couple months, we're right now at the coldest time of the year. These dogs need your help of keeping them warm. And as you know, even huskies, you were telling me, what was interesting, you would think they're northern dogs, but even they get cold in this kind of weather. After 10 minutes, some of them are usually at the door wanting to get in the house because they're not used to the outdoor weather. So
their feet get touchy.
Right. So at the Cloquet, the Friends of Animals, they have a lot of dogs, very nice dogs. In fact, you told me about a poodle that you just got.
I think we have a little 3-pound teacup poodle.
Okay.
We also have a little chihuahua. We've got an assortment of cats, some really beautiful cats. And these two little girls, lab crossed, 10 weeks old, had their puppy shots and been wormed.
Yes, so Bella and Lily are waiting for you to come pick them up. They need lots of love and a warm home. Touching story, very lucky to be alive, these two dogs were, because if they were in that weather we had Friday night, they wouldn't have lasted more than an hour. So we had temperatures even in Cloquet to 36 below zero. So a very good story, and now let's give this a very happy ending by giving these two beautiful dogs a nice, warm, loving home. Friends of Animals at Cloquet, and the address and the phone number. And Diane will be there to help you with any questions you might have.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much for being with us.
Cold weather is damaging the electric power supply equipment. Things are shrinking, these extreme cold temperatures, and basically lines have been falling, power poles have been damaged, cross arms have been cracked. So we've had a variety of operating problems, nothing catastrophic by any means, but certainly enough to keep us extraordinarily busy.
For instance, doubling the number of B-2 bombers that we're buying. But the real way in this country are not just competing with people down the road in the same community or across the state line in Duluth or someplace like that. Lots of workers in this society, even though they don't know it, are competing with workers in Singapore, Germany, France, Japan, Micronesia, you name it. Year, which is to actually cut back on education. Blocks to do that is education. And right now, when people would take the House floor and brag about in this district all over the country, who are working like crazy just to pay their bills, trying desperately just to be able to save a little bit, put a little aside to help pay for their kids' education. They are hoping that when they, after 40, 45 years of hard work, they can retire to a relative.
On the part of the DFL majority leadership and the people of Minnesota to ensure that that we have government on which people can candidates for federal and state office, as we have had during 1990, have controlled the legislature for most of the last quarter century. But I think that we Republicans are going to be successful, in addition to the missteps of individual DFL office holders, largely because our agenda is, on the whole, I think, comports more closely to the priorities and the values of most Minnesotans.
In a way, it's a numbers game, and the numbers are growing more and more alarming. The AIDS virus is now believed to affect 1 in 92 American men, but the fastest growing group of victims aren't adults yet.
According to the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, the group with the fastest growing rate of new HIV infections are teenagers.
In the face of that information, concern over the impact of AIDS seems to have dropped. A recent national poll shows that the vast majority of Americans don't fear contracting the virus. A decade ago, 70% of Americans considered AIDS to be the nation's greatest health problem, but that total is now down to just 37%. The people who should worry are our young people. AIDS is taking an increasing toll among young adults. Many of these people contract the virus as teens, only they don't know it until they're well into adulthood.
AIDS is now the leading killer of Americans aged 25 to 44. The average incubation period from the time someone gets infected to the time they actually develop AIDS is 10 years. So do the math. People 25 to 30 years old getting AIDS were most likely infected when they were teenagers.
Officials at the St. Louis County Health Department say the youngest HIV-positive case they've encountered was 15. Nationwide, nearly 50,000 teens are either HIV positive or have full-blown AIDS. Kids know the risks but don't respect the disease.
People have the knowledge, but they have not adapted their behavior to accept the risk or to act on that knowledge. Actually, I don't care if they know why they're doing it or not, as long as they do it.
I am HIV infected for 9 years. Diagnosed
While people may not admit they're concerned, talk about AIDS gets the undivided attention of most teenagers. AIDS education advocates say that kids need information right now.
We think in that discussion, we'll get to find out what young people have to say and not what politicians have to say about what's needed in schools.
When it comes to AIDS, experts say that what teens don't know can kill them. They say AIDS prevention starts with basic decision-making, but that's where the controversy over education really starts. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
Well, this is what you would see basically at a typical air show. We're at about 1,000 feet above the ground.
Mike Goulian ought to know.
Okay, Clancy, I'm clear.
In a real plane, the Arlington, Massachusetts pilot ranks as current U.S. aerobatic champion.
I read that you hated flight simulators, right? Come on, be honest.
No, actually, this is the first flight simulator that I would ever really experienced other than a Microsoft flight simulator, which wasn't real exciting for me.
But industry experts say Flight Unlimited is incredibly realistic because a Cambridge, Massachusetts game maker spent months, with Mike Goulian's help, teaching a computer how real air flows over real planes.
They go back and do their computer stuff and change a bunch of numbers, and I do my pilot stuff, and we came up with a product in the end that worked.
It's the sort of realism Looking Glass Technologies wants to be known for. Under the Spider-Man hanging from the ceiling, near the Nerf gun toy, works a team from physicists to artists to programmers. Sure doesn't look like work.
When all the texture maps and all the backgrounds are put in, you'll have a model, and it'll be animated, and he'll look a lot like this. Hopefully even better when it's done. Add in some After Effects, lasers, and explosions.
Looking Glass's new game Terra Nova is now in final testing, which must be why these folks are hunkered down with giant boxes of Twizzlers, bottled water, and bananas. A California kind of scene in Massachusetts.
We love the snow. We love the snow. It's refreshing.
Come on, tell the truth.
But realistically, we're here because there's a tremendous pool of talent here in the Boston area. There are great schools here. Programming, art schools, the music scene is great.
And the results are creative, realistic games. Realistic even for pilots.
Here, the plane puts itself back together.
That's
again,
right.
if you would. Do you like that fact about it?
Yeah, I really do, because when you're learning, you crash it a bunch, and learning to land it, it's hard.
If you'd like more information about Looking Glass Technologies, send me an email. Our address, cyber7@whdh.com. I'm Mike Lawrence for NBC News, somewhere over Boston.
They said there wasn't enough funding at the time right now in the future. So I don't know where I'm going to be at this point, seeing that I'm only on disability. It's hard to get money, you know, and I don't have the resources like a healthy, normal person. You know, I can go out and get money and work for it, you know. So that's all I want to. Great.
from home that their parents are allowing them to bring, you know, toothbrushes, toothpaste, pencils, tablets, safety pins, anything that a child they think in Bosnia would like. What I have said to the kids is, think about what you would like, and that's what you need to put in your box.
I'm supposed to hold this up to like looking like nice and looks sad.
And it's more important now than ever to raise the money, to keep the money in the research areas, and to keep helping the clients who live in our area make it through until those treatments and cures are found.
Like a lot. How much do you have? What's your weekly paycheck?
No. So you can take a look at this one.
Definitely. That's
Even
what I
if
told
your
her.
jail uniform ready.
Yeah. Sideways. You don't really take a picture of that,
Okay.
This is kind of...
Okay, I got it.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
That's not a bad idea.
Okay.
To anyone who wishes to give to the Depot Arts and Cultural Organizations, what they need to do is to pick up at any of the checkouts one of these coupons. That coupon then will be scanned at the register for that $2 donation.
Switch again? Alternate each time? You like to carry them out or?
No, he went with his dad. Get out of the house.
Okay, what I need you to do is write down on a piece of paper your name.
For the past 8 years, Jeanette McDonald has taught children in an all-day kindergarten class. She dismisses arguments that 5-year-olds aren't ready to spend a whole day in school, saying it's a much less stressful day for them.
We're able to allow the children time to explore things, time to discover, to experiment, to find out about things at their own rate.
Nettleton Magnet School in Duluth was awarded money for all-day kindergarten 8 years ago through desegregation funding. With her experience in both half-day and all-day kindergarten, Mrs. McDonald was asked to testify before the legislature. Besides the cost, she couldn't think of one disadvantage. Colleagues who also teach all-day kindergarten agree.
And when you have all day, you can better prepare them for first grade with the skills and such that they need to know.
The teachers said the main purpose of the all-day program is not to increase the children's skills, but to enhance their ability to learn.
The first grade teachers are telling us that the children are better adjusted to school. They're ready to do first grade things right away.
The legislative bill proposes that schools be ranked according to the percentage of their students on free and reduced cost lunch programs. Schools with the highest number of children from low-income families would be first in line to receive a share of an as yet unspecified appropriation. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
Well, there's a lot of need from both ends. There are people who are homeless, and there also are a number of people who go into crisis, and rather than go into a hospital or some other facility, something like this can work better. It's cheaper, it's more homey, it's a better way to resolve a crisis without using the hospital or a more institutional kind of setting.
He was on a lot of other. I think at one time probably the original heating of this house was fireplaces, and then the door goes out the kitchen and the other room. Here. You know, just having that structure.
Madeline, how are you today?
Can you say hi?
Hi. When a parent leaves a child at daycare, they may worry about whether their little one will have fun or whether she might scrape her knee at play. But a new, more sinister fear has arisen. Last week, 2 incidents were reported, one in Ely, another in Windham, Minnesota, in which a man stopped at a daycare center and asked for children by name. In neither case did the child leave with the man, but the possibility has raised alarm.
Because I think a 2-year-old would go with pretty much whoever if they seem kind or nice. So it's nice to know that they won't let her go and that they know the children and the families really well.
There are safeguards in place to prevent such abductions if the regulations are followed. State and county licensing agencies require facilities, including home daycares and child care centers, to fill out forms like these, asking for the names of anyone authorized to take a child. Daycare providers are required to ask for identification and match it to those names.
If a parent requests that somebody else, that they're going to be sending somebody else to pick them up, we look first to make sure that they are on the emergency card. We make sure that the parent has given us some written permission, and when that person comes in, we check the ID.
The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension has joined local authorities in investigating the attempted abductions in Minnesota. Meanwhile, authorities are urging parents to check with their child care centers to make sure there are appropriate safeguards in place and that their daycare providers are following the rules. At the Cornerstone Child Care Center in Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Kim in Wyoweega, Wisconsin. A community of 1,700 people has been evacuated after concern after 37 cars derailed from a train accident this morning at 5:30 here. Now, 14 of those cars were carrying propane or a liquefied gas. One of those cars exploded. Several others caught on fire. People were woken up at 5:30 this morning to the sound of a giant explosion. Residents also told us they saw a huge fireball with thick black smoke heading hundreds of feet up into the air. About an hour ago, authorities began telling residents in neighboring communities that they too should leave because they're concerned now because of fumes. Out of all this, no one was hurt. Reporting from Wyoweega, Wisconsin, back to you.
The
The South Polar Hockey Program in Moose Lake has struggled to keep up with other programs in the state for years. The battle has not been on the ice, but rather for the ice. Moose Lake is one of only 2 high schools in the state still playing their games and practices on natural ice. And now local hockey supporters are asking the state to help bring Moose Lake's arena up to date.
As of this point, we've been busing up to Hermantown for 45 minutes one way at the beginning of the season. This year we ended up in Hermantown, Proctor, and Cloquet to get ice time. We skated on a pond, we've skated outside, just anywhere we could get ice.
Under the Mighty Ducks grant program, up to $10 million will be divided among Minnesota skating programs this year. Last year, Cloquet's Pine Valley Arena was awarded a Mighty Ducks grant that brought funding to the facility, and the Moose Lake Arena is hoping for the same state support.
Moose Lake program is looking for a new arena grant of $250,000. Moose Lake is really the model community that the Mighty Ducks funding was designed for, being a grassroots hockey program, looking at our public figure skating and the interest we have in ice sports in general in the region.
In the meantime, the hockey and skating programs in Moose Lake continue to grow. For the past 5 years, girls have made up at least 10% of South Polar hockey programs, and there's even talk about a girls' team in the near future.
Occupational qualification to do so, and those awarded him $500,000. And
no, in fact, there was.
I mean, your ratings were good.
Around in eggshells because of all these secret meetings. See, they.
Do you have a family?
it is certainly okay for a radio station or any corporation to make business decisions based on legitimate business needs. What is not okay, and what federal and state laws protect against, is allowing age to be a factor in employment decisions.
7 years. Oh, it would have been 7 years in October.
Reed defense position is that they've done nothing wrong, that they followed.
You know, it's nothing. He says, your ratings are good. You're very talented. You do a nice job on the air. He says, but you're well aware that we're heading in a new direction. And he says, and you just don't fit in the part of the direction we're heading us. And it was shortly before the 1st of December that this decision was made in meetings that of the direction that they were going to be taking. And
violative of his rights.
And you were there for 7 years.
Oh, it would have been 7 years in October.
And you'll be 50 coming up in June.
June.
I mean, this has just got to be.
Well, like in my work area, there's 50,000 deer, and you know, you figure about 2 pounds a deer per day. It would take 100,000 pounds of feed to feed those deer for 1 day. So that kind of puts it in perspective, you know.
And is concerned about the problems not only in his district, but in the inner city, in the metro area.
Most part are in the highest taxed area in the state of Minnesota. What I'm saying, if you had properties valued at $70,000, as your seasonal rec property is assessed at 2%, your homestead property at 1%, that for a 10% reduction on the seasonal properties, you would see a 20% increase on your homestead properties. He indicated that was going to be quite a problem. One is on the Intergovernmental Committee, so he's dealing on this issue. And I know he was just reviewing some new... The highest tax, this area has seen the highest tax increase of any region in the state of Minnesota for the last few years.
This is the latest footage of the derailed train that's been burning in Wyowiga for 9 days now. And this is the frustration many residents there feel. Since the derailment forced the entire town to evacuate, people have been stuck in hotels and shelters. They're getting financial aid, but not much.
I'm sorry, $45 does not buy 3 people food for 21 days.
21 days is how long officials think it'll be till it's safe to reopen the town. Crews have drained some of the 14 cars filled with volatile propane, but according to the National Guard,
there's still a chance of an explosion.
When the accident happened, many people fled so fast they left behind their pets.
Give me my gun and I'll go rescue my cat.
So for one day, the National Guard staged a rescue mission. Now, folks have to figure out what to do with their kids. This is the closest Wyowiga students have gotten to math class. Now they actually want to go back to school.
Yes, very much.
Starting Thursday, high school kids will now take night classes in the next town. Younger children will be taught in their hotels or get homework. It's some consolation, but not much, while home is still off limits. Linda Vester, NBC News.
Well, this is a sickening, evil act that almost passes belief. Those children were in school. They had nothing to do with anything. They were where they should have been safe. They're perhaps of a generation that has more to look forward to in optimism and hope.
A young-looking Richard Lee Rubin sat before federal magistrate Raymond Erickson this afternoon charged with robbing First Bank downtown on Tuesday. The Federal Bureau of Investigation arrested Rubin without incident in Bemidji Wednesday morning. It is believed that Rubin got to Bemidji in style, taking a limousine. Driver Tim McKeon says Rubin was making some purchases to surprise his girlfriend.
And he said that he was going to stop at a Kmart in either Grand Rapids or Bemidji. And halfway down there, you know, he just talked. He wasn't nervous whatsoever. You know, I thought he was just a regular customer. I drove so many different people.
McKeon says he picked Rubin up at this church in West Duluth. McKeon says once they got to Bemidji, Rubin tipped him a lot of cash.
When we get down to Bemidji, just as we're going to get off the exit, he hands me 5 20s, $100. I said, "What's this?" And he says, "Oh, this is the rest of your tip." That's cool.
Rubin is a senior at Denfeld High School. He told the court he is a member of the student council. He also said he's lived with his mother and stepfather for 8 years. Relatives told Channel 6 News that Rubin has lived off and on with his grandparents. After being charged, Rubin was released to his mother on $10,000 unsecured bond. He also cannot leave town and must submit to a mental health assessment. In Duluth, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
Chris Nossacker, on behalf of Coca-Cola Bottle Midwest Community.
Thanks to Coca-Cola and to the news station.
Well, it's an incredible honor, and I really owe it all to Emily. She's the star of this show, actually, and I didn't even know about it, and so you know, I just really am kind of speechless. But she just did a wonderful thing, and I'll just it's something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. That's for sure.
This was the first thing James Connor saw last April 19th. The bomb explosion in front of the Murrah Federal Building had already killed close to 200 people and injured 500 more. Connor said his first moments on the scene were very stressful.
The decisions, real stressful, was deciding whether we needed to be in the building or not, because stuff's still falling off of it, and it just, you know, there's so much going on, and our people are in there. We don't know if we even need to be in this building or not. But yet, you know, firemen are pretty aggressive, and they're in there in spite of it.
Speaking to a regional health workers conference in Cable, Connor and other emergency workers passed out words of wisdom. A doctor who treated many of the blast victims says every town, no matter how small, needs a plan to deal with disasters.
We have to plan, we have to rehearse, we have to practice, we must participate in the rehearsals, and then we need people with confidence who can make decisions based on information that they have presented to them at the time of a disaster.
Connors hopes that his experience with the bombing will translate into other communities handling emergency situations better.
Even from a small incident to a large incident, it pretty well works the same way with your priorities and just some of the things that happened and that weren't planned, some of the things we planned that didn't work out, and what we had to do to change them. So this is what you share, and this is how this is what they learn and not make the same mistakes we did.
Connor displayed pictures of the bombing. Local officials say seeing the pictures and listening to the story should make them think.
The safety. Stop and think before you actually do it, because EMTs and firemen, they have a tendency to just jump up, take off, and run and go. This make you more aware to stop and slow down, think about it before you actually get in there and do things. Remember, you've got to protect yourself first, and plus try to rescue your people and your patients.
The conference will end this afternoon. In Cable, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
And the concept of integrating persons with disabilities into a regular society where they're able to have the same benefits as anyone else is growing rapidly, and the concept has made such a difference in the lives of many of the athletes and in the lives of the partners.
This time of year we get the freeze-thaw process. We can patch them today. We get a lot of runoff and the hole gets water underneath it. That patch will pop again until we finally get the hole dried and good dry warm weather, and we get a permanent patch in there.
Well, we came to the museum just to check it out, and we were surprised to be the 2 millionth visitors.